This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 217.
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode where I speak to a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Barens, global sales engineering leader out of France. We talked about a lot of different stuff, but the main focus of the conversation was finding the right SE for the company. We talked about how companies grow, the requirements for sales engineering shifts, the way they go to market shifts. So how do they shift with it? And we also talk about a matrix that Jimmy has where he uses to actually judge if someone would be a good fit within the company or not. So if you're looking to get a job as a sales engineer or move jobs as a sales engineer and you need some help, check out the SE hotline. I have to plug it every time because I think it's very useful to a lot of people. Check it out. And how about we just jump into the show and talk to Jimmy about his process. I'll see you after the show. Good morning, James. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Hi, Armazi.
Actually, it's your afternoon, right?
Yes, it's 2:30 for me.
2:30 for you. Well, it's nice to have you on at 2:30 on Monday afternoon. Can you introduce yourself to the folks listening?
Yes, of course. I'm Jimmy Barens. I'm based in Paris, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales Engineering for a company called Yext that I joined 5 years ago. And we are an international company in charge of taking care of the discoverability, the digital discoverability of the brands on every digital touch points. And before that, I was with Adobe for 19 years, a little bit of Xerox before that, but all my life more or less in sales engineering.
Okay. All your life in sales engineering. All right. What's the difference between senior VP of sales engineering and just VP of sales engineering?
I think it's different per company. Every company has its own, kind of a career ladder. And the big change for me has been that since we discussed the first time, I was in charge of EMEA and Japan, and now I'm in charge of the world because since August, now I'm taking care also of North America. That's the S appears when I took over North America also.
Okay, that's well, congratulations on the promotion.
Thanks.
Is it congratulations or is it good luck? I don't know.
It's like in fact, it's a congratulation because it's a very interesting thing because I used to be highly EMEA international, meaning understanding the difference between dealing with UK guy or German guy or French guy or an Italian guy or a Japanese guy, which by itself is already interesting from a cultural point of view. I always almost worked for a North America based company, but that's the first time I'm working and let's say coaching people based in North America. And you know what? It's not that easy. And I thought that it would be easy, and it was a little bit less easy than what I thought.
What made it less easy?
Because I assume that a lot of things were working like that, but when I discovered the reality, I discover a new culture. Even if I'm North America, a very influenced guy, coaching a team in North America is a different thing than working with people in North America. It's different.
Huh. Okay. What are some of the differences that you found?
Working with North America people, as I said to you, I'm doing that since 25 years, 30 years, and I love that and enjoy that. And that's the reason why I'm always dealing and working for companies based in North America, because I love the energy, the passion, the motivation, and the willingness to move on and make things happen, and I love that energy. But the way people think for their job, for their position, for their career, it was never on my plate before because it was not my problem to take care of that. But now I have to take care of that for my people in North America. And it's a different game. It's a new territory. I thought that it will be a copy paste of another one that I knew, but no, it's another one. And now I'm really dealing with North America, France, Italy, Spain, UK, Nordics, Japan, and every one of them is different.
So how do you kind of switch? I'm assuming like people also within each environment, like I'm Lebanese living in Canada. So dealing with me might be different from someone who's Chinese living in Canada, even though we're in the same territory. How do you switch while working with people, and how do you know what that person needs and doesn't need?
It's coming back to a little bit our main topic, I think, that we will discuss in a minute. It's a lot of active listening, and it's a lot of empathy, because if you really take care of your people, you really listen, you try to understand, and as you said, your configuration, Lebanese in Canada, is unique, and every people, if you check, are kind of unique at some point. But the fact that you are in Canada implies a little, some things. The fact that you are Lebanese implies other things. And now it's more because I'm old that I have a little bit of experience, that I know a little bit how an Italian guy behaves, a French guy behaves, a German guys behave, or, and it helps me to go faster, to understand who I have in front of me and how I can help. But you're right. At the end, a good portion of my job is to listen. And when I say listen, it's really an active listening, which is really to hear and understand what the people are saying and what are their expectations, what are their vision, and what is the next step for them. And if you actively listen people, it's pretty easy after that to adapt.
So I've worked with some great managers. I've worked with okay managers, and a lot of them actively listen to what I have to say. The thing that bothers me is after they actively listen to what I have to say, sometimes nothing changes.
Yes.
So how do you and there is like what's best for the company, there is what's best for the SE. There are a lot of, like, just because I said, oh, I don't like this role doesn't mean they're going to change my role like this, because it's impossible. And there are different levels of that. How do you manage, like, all right, you are unhappy with X, I can't do anything about it right now. How do you manage, like, actively listening and then making sure that the person you talk to is happy afterwards?
The active listening doesn't imply the right outcome. Active listening just helps you to better understand the context, the situation, making sure that you are not making error or you are not making the wrong assumptions, because the worst case will be that you misunderstood and you are taking actions which is opposite to the outcome expected by the person. The active listening will not solve the problem. The active listening will just maximize your chance to understand exactly the situation, and then from there eventually make the right actions. And as you said, I'm sometimes tight ends, because I'm not deciding everything. I don't have the control in everything. Like, for example, salary increase or money or stuff like that. I'm playing with predefined boundaries. But that's my goal, to know each of my ACs, each of my direct reports very well, in order to balance things and to judge situations and to say, maybe, okay, for that guy, I need to take action now. And that guy can wait another time, and I will give you something else. That's the active listening just helped me to have the right hypothesis. If I had a math metaphor, I will say that you have the hypothesis and then you try to get to the conclusion. If your hypotheses are incorrect, you will never get to the conclusion. Active listening is hypothesis, and making sure that your hypotheses are correct.
Nice. I love the fact that active listening does not imply the right outcome. It's just setting you up so that to see if you can get to the right outcome, or to end that relationship, or to find some common ground, I guess.
It helps you to maximize your chance of success, but it doesn't necessarily get to the success itself.
Yeah. So now that we were going to talk about like how the SE recruitment grid that you mentioned to me last time. I am curious, before we jump there, now that you cover another part of the world, how do you go through the process of the SE recruitment grid with people that you've already employed? Or
interesting. No, I mean, yes and no. In fact, funny enough, we are at the moment at Yext where the platform and the product has changed dramatically. And even the profile of the SEs that we were recruiting 2 years ago is obsolete from certain aspects, because we became more technical, we became more developer oriented, we became more platform, more API. And some of my ACs have been recruited 3 or 4 years ago, and they did not add that technical background because it was not necessary at that time. But now it's becoming necessary. And from that point of view, my answer to your question is yes. I'm kind of rescreening my actual employees to try to detect what is missing. And as we speak, in fact, Yext is on a fiscal year where we are starting in February. We are really starting our new year right now. And we have our offsite this week. Thank you. And we are our global AC offsite this week on Wednesday and Thursday. And one of the main topic is what is the hard skill matrix? What is the soft skill matrix in order to succeed at Yext? And to be honest, a lot of the soft skill matrix is what I'm using for the recruitment. And you're right from that point of view. I'm reusing part of it, yes, to reassess the team, not to decide if I remove someone or not. It's more, okay, guy, this is your heat map, and this is where you should be. And then now you know the gap. And let's work together. I will provide you the tools and the processes and the help in order for you to fill those gaps here in order in 3 months, 6 months to have the right heat map that I'm expecting from you. It's more for everyone to be able to judge themselves against that matrix, and then to say, okay, wow, I'm good there, but wow, I need to work on that part kind of seriously. And the good news is that, okay, Jimmy and his team give me those tools, and those tools in order to do that. Now I will work on my own agenda to organize my time, basically, in order to improve.
So how, like, generally speaking, I've seen companies, once they start hiring SEs, they just try to duplicate that, or if they find one that's good, they just try to duplicate them over and over. And it seems that for Yext, how did you recognize the fact that the profile has changed? A lot of companies don't, and just keep going down that same line of hiring like experts in one area, but no skills in the other area, although it's obvious for everyone on the outside that the skills should have shifted. How does one recognize that from inside?
For me, I don't think it's only me, but for me, that's completely part of my job, to be always looking for those changes and to detect those changes. That's my job, to always build the best team. And I know that team is not in stone. By definition, the product is evolving, the strategy of the company is changing. I mean, there are a lot of external factors that have direct impact on me, on my team. And not recognizing those external factors or signals will be a leadership error. I think, from my point of view, and the way I see the job is, I see me as, you know, when you're at the opera, the symphony, there is this guy called the conductor, you know, and really managing the team and stuff like that. I'm seeing like that, you know, I seeing myself like that. I'm maybe less good than in people in the team, and I prefer that, in fact. But I'm very good at animating, connecting people, extracting the best of those people, helping them to grow, detect them, for them the best move, and that's my job, to do that. And I think a big part of my job, 50% of my job, is human being management. It's people management. That's my, again, maybe that's only me, I don't know, but that's my way to see the job.
I mean, I would agree with that. Not that I'm in a position that I don't have experience in that aspect, but I would imagine that a lot of leaders end up in the weeds, like putting out fires and taking care of random stuff like that comes up. If you're probably familiar with Stephen Covey, the 4 quadrants, they're probably in the urgent, not important aspect, but that's when you pull yourself out and you're focused on the important stuff. That's when you can see that, all right, things are changing and I need to change with it, or the company needs to change with it. what would you recommend to those who are in the weeds? How do they go from the tactical and working on the day-to-day to thinking strategically for the overall vision of the company?
I think that as a leader, as a manager, one discipline that you need to put to yourself is take the time to step back. Take the time to not be in the weeds, not be in the day-to-day. Okay, that's very. It's easy to say, difficult to do, because it's a practice. If you never did that before, wow, that will be extremely difficult at the beginning, because you always have the feeling that there are something else that are more important and you will never do it. My recommendation is just maybe block 2 hours per week and say, okay, nothing in my agenda. Step back as if I was a consumer, or if I was a customer of Yext, or if I was an external, someone that I need to explain Yext, like if I had to explain that to my grandmother. Okay, let's just step back and say, okay, what has changed, honestly, in the last 6 months, or a year, or months, or something like that. And without any emotion, without any predefined framework or ideas, just be honest, take a sheet of paper and put all the ideas on the paper, and you really realize that if more you do that, more you practice, more it will be easy to do that. Now I'm used to do that, of course, and I'm kind of doing that in a permanent mode. I have like 5% of my brain, in the back working on that all the time. But to be honest, I need sometimes myself to put that on paper and on slides. I'm a slide guy. I put that on slides because it helps me. I'm a graphic guy. I love these mind maps and stuff like that, because it helps me to organize my own idea. It's somewhere in my brain, but I need to dump that on paper or on slides in order for me to understand what is happening. And that's exactly what I did in order to prepare my offsite right now. I had tons of idea, but it was non-structured. And then because I forced myself to prepare slides, and I have 2 sessions for the offsite, one is look backward and the other one is look forward. And it forced me to realize what happens. A good example, I think that in the vast majority of our companies, we have this annual performance review process, where at some point you meet your manager and you need to discuss what happens last year, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know for you, but when I do the exercise myself and I retake my agenda like 12 months earlier, and then day by day I redo the film, I forgot like 80% of what I did last year. If I don't force myself, I forgot a lot of things. But in fact, I did tons of things, but I forgot. And that's a very good exercise to also force you to realize what you did, what has changed, and then it will come natural and it will be obvious at the end.
So a lot of great points. Like the fact that we never book thinking time, even like on an SE level. If we don't book thinking time to think about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're never going to get better. And it gets more and more important as you go up. But the performance reviews specifically, they're a pet peeve of mine. I hate them because we write them and then we never refer to them until the end of the year. But like I had a chat with a gentleman by the name of Chris White. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we talked about resolutions, and for me, resolutions, you start in January, you fail in February because you don't have a plan of how to achieve those resolutions. And the same thing with performance reviews. If you don't have a plan to achieve your goals, and if you never refer back to them, you're gonna first off forget about them, and then at the end of the year, you're gonna have to look back at what did I do this year to achieve these goals? Did I achieve them? Was it by accident, or was there a design behind it? So yeah, for me, I hate that. I hate performance reviews yearly. I wouldn't mind them quarterly. I prefer them quarterly for me.
That's what we are doing at Yext. We have a quarterly check-in, and then we have an annual performance, which is the formal process, if you want. But normally it's supposed to be the aggregation of the quarterly discussions.
Yeah, I mean that's great. Like you have the yearly goals, and then you break them down into quarterly goals, and then you review them every quarter with the manager. But in the meantime, every week you're supposed to be looking at what your goals are. So as an individual, You don't have to have a manager to tell you to do that. All right.
Exactly, yeah.
So the SE recruitment grid, can you talk to me a little bit about that? What is it and how do you use it?
Yeah, in fact, as I think now you know and you understand, I'm a very people-driven person, and I used to say that I'm not recruiting a CV or curriculum vitae, but I'm recruiting people. I'm recruiting a human being, and that's why I will check the tech things. I will check the SE skills and stuff like that. I have some techniques to do that, but to be honest, I built over time matrix, grid, whatever the name is, that are the core behaviors, components that I want an SE working in my team to have. And it's fundamental for me, because if those people doesn't have all of them, maybe at different level, but minimum all of them, I know that there is a risk of incompatibility with me and the rest of the team, but also with the people that we are serving, the sellers and the other type of CSMs and the other organization inside the company. And I, with the time, discovered that applying that grid maximized my chance of success when I enroll a new SE. It's not 100% bulletproof. I made errors, but I recruited in my life, I made the calculation before our podcast, but something like 130 people in my life. And I had two big errors. And I learned from those errors. And I'm trying to avoid those errors again. But my point is that more than trying to avoid the errors is more to find the best fit with the best quality people as possible. That's why I didn't build that grid. It came to me over time, to be honest.
Okay. I am curious, what were those errors? What was like the bad fit about those two people?
The first one which is a specific scenario, is when your company acquire another company. And when it's happening, you inherit of people that are part of the acquisition, and then you have to make decision, do you want to keep or not those people? Sometimes you are just forced to accept those guys and find a way for them to match with the rest of the team. And one of those cases was an acquisition, two guys, met them. I had the choice to decide if I want them or not, but made the decision, to say yes. Seems very good guy. And to be honest, the guy that I fire at the end was one of the smartest people I met, an incredible presenter, an incredible storyteller, maybe one of the best I met in my career. The guy was impressive, and that's what I saw when I engaged with him, and that's why I say yes. But the guy was so negative inside for personal reasons that he became the worm in the apple, and he started to influence the rest of the team in a bad way. And I tried with him to solve that problem because the guy was brilliant, but I did not find a way. And at some point I had to say to the guy, okay, you're brilliant, but you know what? Being brilliant and a diva in my team and creating all these problems, it's a teamwork thing. It's not a set of divas, and I cannot afford to have a diva. I need to have a team that is working well. And that's one case. The second one was more a classical case where I made an error to base my recruitment on my gut feeling only. And that was my first learning, to be honest, because I was trusting my gut like 200%. And I was a little bit over optimistic about that. And then I made the decision to recruit that person, and it was an error because I did not do the basic check, and it was an error.
Okay. All right. So going back to the grid itself, how long did it take you to get to where it is today?
As I said, I did not build it on purpose. It's more like experience, step by step. And to be honest, when we discuss, we are talking about 6 or 7 criteria. And I redid the exercise for my offsite, and now I have 10 criteria.
Okay.
And but I think it's the good number. And some of them are obvious and everybody will agree, and some other are more maybe personal to me and my way to recruit people. But I truly think that if the people are checking all these 10 things, we are in a good company, and there is a high percentage of chance of success for that person in that team, and for that person in that team in that company. Because remember, when you recruit, you are not recruiting a friend, you are recruiting someone that needs to fit in the company culture, needs to fit in the team, meaning that maybe I will recruit someone in North America that I will never recruit in Germany. And they are maybe both good, but it's just that in one case it will not fit with the team itself. But also, don't forget that sales engineer, we are part of a larger team. We are minimum a duo with the seller, but it could be a trio with the CSM or quarter with the marketing, whatsoever. And again, you can have the best guy in front of you. You know the guy is good. You know the guy is an incredible SE. But if you know your company well, you know that that guy is not compatible with your company. And that compatibility could be different. The way I was doing that compatibility check at Adobe or at Yext is not the same, because the core values of Yext and the core values of Adobe are not the same.
Right.
And I need to adapt to that too.
Okay. Can you share with us the categories?
Of course.
All right.
There is no specific order, okay? It's not in order or whatsoever. It's just a list. Let's maybe go through the list one shot, and then we can come back on all the different points.
Yeah.
The first one for me is really, in fact, they're all important, but this one is really important to me, is creativity. I think that SEs are puzzle solvers, and you need to love that, and you need to think out of the box. You need to like challenges. If you don't like that, I think it's warning for me. The second one is curiosity. Curiosity means that if you are not eager to learn, if you are not eager to improve, if you are not eager to be always at the edge of your knowledge, you can become obsolete very fast and useless, especially in the SE space. I think it could be the case very, very fast. And I need someone that will search by itself and will continue to educate by itself. That's the second one. The third one is passion. Passion, because you need to be passionate. And why I say that, it's just because first, it's cool to be with people which are passionate, but more important, when you are in front of a customer, your passion, your energy and your passion is felt by the audience. When you are saying and presenting something that you really believe in and you are passionate about it, the guy said, wow, I entered into the room. I was not interested at all. I was just there because I've been asked to be there. But now I'm listening to that guy. I said, wow, okay, the guy seems to really love what he's doing and it seems to be super cool. Let's give him a chance, you know? And that passion can change things. And I think that's super, super important. The fourth one is autonomy. And it's linked to my style, to my management style. I think it's not necessarily applicable to every managers, but I'm not a micromanager at all. I don't like that. And I consider every SEs that I'm recruiting like a mini startup. Those guys needs to manage their own activity. And that's why autonomy is super important to me, because I'm there to set the direction, to explain the rules and the processes, to provide the tools and the means to achieve that goal. I'm here to coach and remove barriers. Yes. Am I here to every minute, every day, check what you are doing? No. And for me, it's an important criteria in my management style again. The fifth one is an obvious, super obvious one, but fundamental for me is teamwork. And I know that it's super duper overused term, but it's still true. You need to work in a team. You need to share. You need to leverage the team. You need to I'm very I can say that my analogy are very often family. And I think that you have a professional family and you have a personal family. And what I'm trying to create is a professional family when I'm talking about SEs. And I think that's that. You need to be proud to be part of that team, to work with them, to learn with them, to progress with them. And that the teamwork is fundamental for me. The sixth one is storytelling. The best SEs that I've seen in my life are the best storyteller ever. And I think one part of our job is to illustrate, to explain, to simplify sometimes complex concepts into things that the audience, whatever is the audience, which will lead to another criteria, and you need to be able to explain that in a very impactful way, easy way to understand for the audience. And when you are telling a nice story, the audience is hooked, and then you can really deliver your message. I think it's very, very important. The seventh one that we already briefly mentioned is active listening. I think that it's, if you are not an active listener, the rest of the process is useless. And that's why you need to be an active listener first and foremost, because if you don't understand clearly what the customer wants, you cannot do a good SE job, because you cannot make a good proposal, you cannot make a good demo, you cannot make a good recommendation, you cannot help the customer to build the solution. That's why active listening is super, super important for me, which is linked to the next one, which is empathy. I think that ACs, ideal ACs are, for me, chameleons, are peoples that are able to be in empathy with the audience. If you are in front of finance customer on Monday, you need to be a finance guy. And if on Tuesday you are in front of a retail guy, you need to be a retail guy. That's super important, because if you project yourself into their life, you are becoming one of themselves, and then you are creating one of the best connection as possible. And if you use the passion and the curiosity and all the other ones that I mentioned earlier, whew, that's really cool, good connection, I think. The ninth one is what I call agility, flexibility. That one is what I call real-time agility, real-time flexibility. You need to accept that what you prepare for your meeting will maybe not happen. And maybe something else will happen in the meeting. The guy that was supposed to be there, the most important, will not show up, or that guy had a bad night and he is not very receptive, or whatsoever. You could have 10 events like that in 2 minutes. Your brain need to process that, and then you need to adapt in real time, because you know that if you are not doing that, it will be a failure. And I think that's maybe the part which is the most stressful, but also the most exciting for me when I'm delivering presentations and stuff like that in front of customers. And finally, an SE, a true SE, is, and that's why I love the job, we are not doing the same thing every day. The SEs is there, but you have the SEs working with the sales, you have the SEs working with the CSMs, you have the SEs working with marketing, you have the SEs working with product. We are at the intersection of all these teams, and we are interacting with all these different teams at different moments of the week. And this multitasking, that's the last one, the multitasking thing is why I'm still doing that job after 25 years, because one day or 1 week is not the same than the previous one, because it's, as I said, if I give you my agenda of today, I have 2 business meetings in this morning. In the middle, I have a specific question with the seller to prepare for a meeting on a specific environment. And then my last meeting before lunch was a meeting with a partner in order to discuss about encryption and security. It was a mix of sales, of tech, of business. And this afternoon, I'm with you doing a podcast, which is more kind of, in bracket, knowledge share or marketing. And it's like that every day. And I love that. That's what I love.
So I have questions. I'm not going to go through every single one because then we'll be here till tomorrow.
No problem.
And I think you have work to do. But so here's some of the questions. The first one's creativity.
Yeah.
So the question is, are we talking about creativity from a technology perspective or from a selling perspective or both? What are you looking for?
I think it's, when I mean creativity, I mean more think out of the box, and again, problem solving, puzzle solving. It's more in that way that I'm talking about creativity, because every customer is different. Every customer has a different context, and you're in front of a new puzzle, and you need to do it. Basically, you need to solve it. And sometimes there are missing pieces because the guy didn't give you all the information, or sometimes the pieces are not connecting because the IT connection doesn't work, and you need to be creative there again. Creativity is really to like challenges and to like to solve those challenges in order to obtain a result, up to the point that sometimes the outcome is there is no result, but you did everything you can in order to find a solution for that customer. That's in that aspect that I'm talking about creativity. From that point of view, it's both sales, because sometimes it's just the way you present things, or it could be tech. Sometimes it's just that, oh, okay, I will do that, create an SFTP there, boom, 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 okay, connector. I found a solution that was not nowhere. It was not on the playbook, but because I have the background and the tech and the experience, my brain just compute and find a solution. That's what I mean by creativity.
So creativity in solving a problem. The problem could be human or technical, which is where sales engineering comes in, really. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So the third one was passion. I mean,
yeah,
not all products are allow passion, right? Some products are just boring. So what are we talking about when we say passion? Are we talking about like passion about the product itself, or what is it exactly?
Even if the product is boring, if you as an SE love that product and you are really enjoying to sell it, that's what I mean by passion. It's exactly a very good point. I'm not trying to find any product that will unplease someone, but imagine a product. Okay,
any product.
The worst
Toyota
product
Corolla
on the planet, you know. Nah, if you want. If you are a guy from Toyota and you want to sell that car because you truly believe that that car is great for A, B, C, whatever reasons, you will always find a way to make it cool. And that's where is the funny part, because if the guy is truly passionate about the Toyota Corolla, then he will transfer that to you. And the problem here is that we have too much people that are not making any efforts or are not very genuinely interested by what they are selling. And that's a problem to me, for example. My problem is, if you ask me to sell something that I don't believe in, I'm very bad. Very, very bad. Because I don't know how to lie, to be honest. And that's why I need to be passionate myself about what I'm selling. And if I'm not anymore, because things could change over time, then I need to quit. And I need to find another challenge inside the same company if there are different departments, or outside of the company if I'm not anymore aligned with the company. And I want these people that are joining my team because they trust and they really enjoy what they are selling. They are convinced that it's the best solution or one of the best, even if it's tough, but they really, really believe in what they are saying when they are saying it to the customer. If it's not the case, the customer feel it. We are animals. It's difficult to explain, but you perceive that. It's in the voice, it's in the attitude, it's in a lot of things. And there are so much people outside here that can sell anything without any emotion, that you are making a difference. Because when you are coming with that passion, the guy said, wow, I want to work with that guy. Seems to know what he's saying, and he's truly passionate about what he's saying, which means that the product should be good. And I think it's making a huge difference.
I think about it a little bit differently. I can see like someone who sells Toyota Corollas today can move to Honda the next day and sell Honda. For me, the way I think about passion is passion in solving the problem itself. if I can figure that out, if I can figure the problem, how to solve the problem with my own tools, I get excited. I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm using this set of tools or that set of tools. The tool doesn't matter. The problem solving is what matters to me, and I can get passionate about solving it. Okay, this is how you screw a screw in. Doesn't matter what's the screwdriver, but if I can when I get passionate about that, it's usually reflected into the set of solutions that I'm using, and that's where I get more passionate about solving the problem than actually using like why Toyota Corolla? You're trying to save gas, save whatever. Like, what's the problem? Why are you looking at Toyota Corolla to begin with? Why not a Honda Yaris or Toyota Yaris? I don't even know. But yeah, that's for me. That's how I think about that.
I agree. That's another point. But every type of passion that you can express to the audience will have an impact, because the people will say, okay, I prefer to work with that guy instead of that guy, because I trust better that guy. He seems to really, he's willing to solve the problem for me, which is cool because it's an extra person, helping me.
At least for me in my industry, that's also shifted. Like, it was hard to get passionate about test tools. That's what I sell. I sell test equipment. It's hard to get passionate about. Also, I moved from one competitor to another. So like, how are customers going to believe, oh, you're passionate about both products? You were so passionate about that product versus this product. But once I told them, like, hey, I'm just trying to solve your problem, and I'm offering you the best solution that I have, and then it's up to you to make the decision of which solution is better. It allowed me to actually ask the right questions and go beyond like how many miles per hour. It's like, why are you looking at this miles per hour? And so that's helped me. And if somebody else is in the same boat, maybe it'll help them as well. Autonomy and teamwork. These seems like contradictory concepts. I've seen SEs who are autonomous, who are like, if you ask them a question, they're great teammates about it, like their answer, but if they find it hard to leverage their team. For example, like, go ahead. I feel like you have a thought about
that. When I say autonomy is maybe equal organization, or how do you manage your time? Okay. How do you manage your schedule? And it's really again, for me, you are this mini startup. You have those objectives. The way you do it, that's your problem. But I want things to be done, and it's more in that aspect. And you can be completely autonomous, meaning that you are, you know how to manage your agenda. You know how to engage with other people. That's part of autonomy. It's that you don't come always to me or your mid manager to ask everything. At some point, and you find the right path to have access to the right people. That's what I call autonomy, which is not for me against teamwork, because autonomy can be part of it, because you can ask others to help you because you have organized your time and your schedule in a way that you really succeed, or you prepare for success. That's why for me it's not in a position.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, active listening. I've recently been changing that to active questioning, because you can listen all day to the wrong question and it won't help you. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You were trying to, like, when we're talking about active listening, you're trying to set yourself up for solving a problem. And if you're asking the wrong questions, doesn't matter how much you listen to it. So
it's very fair, very fair. I love that. And in fact, I think the two things are a little bit different. I think that what I discovered is that a lot of people I'm working with, or I used to work with, stop the conversation or stop the flow of the customer when he was explaining things, because they want to process their stuff. They came with a meeting and said, okay, I will push that in the meeting and I will sell that. No, guy, especially in the discovery phase, the guy should talk 80%, you 20%, do the question for the 20% only, and the rest is the other guy to give you data, And when he's giving you those data, is to really to active listening to understand what those data means in which context. But you're right, it's a very fair point. I think it's active listening and active questioning.
Yes. I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with the active listening. I believe, like, if you ask the right question and then you don't listen to the answer, that's not good either. right? So it's a combination of both.
It's a very good one. Yeah,
the one thing I disagree with you with, like I agree with almost everything you said, is multitasking, and
okay,
mainly because I find the definition of multitasking might be different than what I think, but like multitasking is doing two things at the same time. But when you were explaining it, you were kind of talking about task switching, like you're doing this, you're focused on that for that time, and then you do this, but you're doing so many things as an SE. Okay. All right. So I guess
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes.
No,
it's really that. It's task switching. Yes, it's exactly that.
It's being efficient in task switching. It's being able to focus on one thing, finish it, and then move on to the next one, versus doing two things at the same time. Okay. All right. So I guess
and to be able to reset in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what is not a lot of people are able to do that. To be honest, it's a skill.
It is hard
because some people are completely confused by changing in 30 seconds. I'm not. I love that. But I know that some people that I know, very good, very smart, unable to do that. When they are focusing on something, it's a tunnel of a day or half a day. They cannot switch.
I struggle with that. Sometimes I have to walk away and come back, and that's my way of resetting. But it is a struggle for many people to efficiently go from thinking about how am I going to sell this to the customer to thinking about like, oh, marketing is asking me to do this presentation. How am I going to switch? So yeah, no, I agree with that. All right. Well, so it seems that this has grown, as you mentioned earlier, like as the company changes and as the role grows. So this is great. Was there anything else you wanted to add about any specific one? Do you have a favorite? Like it's like, oh, yeah, they have to be a 10 on this versus anything else?
There is one which is not there, which remember what I said when I failed. It's the gut feeling. You cannot stop that.
Yeah.
It's animal again. First time I met you, I judge you in 10 seconds. It's like that. It's just the way the world is. Okay. And what I learned is that you cannot use that as the only criteria, okay, because it's too risky. But that criteria still is there. And to be honest, I can find someone with the 10 things here. Check. But if I don't have the feeling with that person, I will not maybe move on. And it's totally unfair, totally difficult to explain. But I think it's another important criteria is that, do I want to work with that person? Do I see myself interact with that person? Because I want my job to be fun. I want to be happy to see that person at the office. It's part of that. We are human beings, we are social animals, and we prefer to be with friends than with enemies. It's like that.
It's so funny when earlier on you said you're not hiring your friend, you're hiring for the business, but it's better to become friends with that person than become enemies after you've hired that person.
But funny enough, and it's not maybe a good recommendation, what I will say in a minute, is that a lot of the people I'm recruiting are becoming my friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They are not my friend when I recruit them because I didn't know them before. But there is a good chance that I will have a very high level of friendship with them.
Yeah. And I noticed that when I worked with great managers, I became friends with them. It wasn't by design or anything. It was just, they're great managers, great people to talk to. I mean, you can't be a bad person and be a good manager. I've just noticed that. So from an individual perspective, we only have 10 minutes left, and I know you have a global team that you need to manage. So I want to be respectful of your time. I'm curious, how do you think? Okay, here's the list. How do you know that someone's creative as you're talking to them in an interview? And are you personally still interviewing individual SEs as well?
Yes, that's one of the things that I continue to do. In the team now, we are around 50 people, and as we speak, I have 3 or 4 headcounts that I need to manage. I always want to be part of the process, always, because I try to delegate. That's a problem for managers. Managers when you are becoming manager, you need to learn how to delegate. And that's one of the most difficult things on earth, to delegate, because when you delegate, you accept that someone else will take a decision on your behalf. That's what you are saying, basically.
Yeah.
You are giving them the keys and say, okay, do what you want with the house. That's my house. I don't want you to break my house, you know? And that's very difficult. But recruiting is so important. And we are not a team of, if we were a team of 100 or 200, I could not afford really to be part of all the processes. But now I can still do that. And I really want to be part of it, because I let my middle manager to lead, and they are doing the first interview. And if they said, you should meet him, then I will do the call. But I want to be part of it, yes. To answer to that question, yes, I still want to be part of it, yeah. And everywhere in the world.
Okay. And how do you judge, like, these 10 attributes? How are you able to judge from one call if they have
I can't. I can't, and that's why our process is kind of formatted now. I have that process where I have the recruitment manager doing the first. I mean, forget about the talent sourcing, okay, and the screenings and the headhunters. They did their job, provide with names and CVs. Okay, fine. Then you have the manager, which is doing the first, basically, interview, first screening. If it's going well, it's going to me. If it's going well, then after that, I immediately ask for that person to meet someone of the team that they will interact with or serve with. For example, if it's an SE in France, then I will ask a seller in which I trust, or my main manager trusts, to conduct an interview from a seller point of view or a CSM point of view. That will give me another angle of the interview process.
So you're not doing all the work yourself. It's a team effort.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, definitively yes. And the last exercise is the most important of it, is what we call the panel exercise. And the panel exercise is not so much for the panel itself, but it's a two-part exercise. It's an hour. And you have the first 20 minutes. I'm asking you to present what you are selling today. Meaning that, for example, if I'm recruiting you from Microsoft, then you will explain me what you are doing at Microsoft and how you will present in your day-to-day. The objective of that first exercise for me is to see that person in action. And I will check storytelling, empathy, agility, because maybe I will ask some sneaky questions, active listening, all of that, and I will judge more I can say that the front end of the AC, if you want, from that point of view. Then we finish. Then we switch to the second part, where 48 hours before, I will have sent to that person the first call deck or the corporate deck of Yext, and I will say to that person, you can do whatever you want with that deck. You can destructure the deck, you can create your own version of the deck, I don't care. But I want you to explain me in 48 hours what is Yext and why do you think it's the best company in the world. And what I'm checking here is the capacity for that SE to ingest new information in a very short period of time, how that person will make a specific version of that presentation, a Jimmy's version or a Ramsey's version of it, and not just copy paste. Right? I have some SEs that come and that doesn't touch the slides at all, and they just do the thing, which is okay. But some others are completely changing everything, did research, add new data, or everybody is different. But the way they did it and why they did it, it's what interests me, because I want to see the style, you know, the way the person behaves and stuff like that. That helps me on curiosity, creativity. I can judge how much effort that person made also in the work, stuff like that. That panel exercise is a killer. I had person that was incredibly good at interviews, chameleons, but at the panel failed like badly because we saw them in action. And the panel is very good.
Nice. All right. Jimmy, this is when we usually move on to the not so fire round. these are the same 4 questions we ask almost every guest. But what I'd like to do is ask them in a 5-round succession because we only have a few minutes left. So
Okay.
unless you tell me I don't have a hard stop, I'm okay to go over personally.
No, I have one. I have a BMW meeting with customers at 3.
Do you need
at 3:30? Sorry.
Okay, how about let's just. I'm okay to end it right now.
No. I have the true 3 minutes in front of me. No problem.
Okay. All right. So, what do you love about sales engineering? Well, that might take more than 3 minutes.
I think that I already mentioned that. I think earlier is the fact that every day is different.
Okay.
And inside of one day, as I said, it could be 6, 7 different things. Could be a different market. Could be a different language. Could be a different country. Could be a different interaction, marketing, sales, product. I love that. That's be in the middle. All of that. I love that.
All right. What would you change about the role itself?
I think that one of the problems everywhere in the world we have for sales engineering is the recognition of the value and the impact of the sales engineering team. We are needed, and people know that, but I'm a little bit what is the word for that? Disappointed that the ACs are not recognized at the right level, like sellers, on the impact and the value they are bringing in the deal, because there are some deals that cannot be done without us. Yeah. And I would love the ACs to get a little bit of the sunlights and the lights when there is a success, and I think we deserve to be more seen and understood in how much we are providing and bringing to the table.
Okay, good. All right, question number 3 is there a book or resource you give your SEs when they join a company or anything like that?
I'm pretty bad at that. I know that a lot of colleagues are doing that. I'm reading a lot personally, and I never stopped, and I will never, I think, stop that. I have a collection of books that I recommend to my SEs, but again, I discovered that some SEs are not the readers, and in fact, every SE has a different way to consume content, and I don't have one. To answer to your question, I don't have one specifically that I love, but there are tons that are very good on demos. There is the 6 principles of an SE, which is a very famous one. All those books are good, but it's more a collection of 10 that for me. I can send you the list if you want to post it on the remarks for the podcast, but it's more a collection of books. Yeah, for me.
Please, I'll take that. All right. Is there a habit you're working on today to improve in your personal or professional life?
What I'm trying to do is to be as possible fair. Fair is really important for me because we can become easily biased. You are I don't know, busy, exhausted, I don't know. Yeah. And what I'm trying to do always is to breath, step back, and say, okay, this is a job. Let's do my best, and let's be fair with everyone. That's what I'm trying to do every day.
All right. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for your time. I know you have to go, so I will see you next time.
Thank you, Ramsey. Thanks.
That brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for being here, members of the SE Nation. I really appreciate you being here. Do you have a matrix that you use when you're interviewing, whether you're an individual contributor or whether you're a hiring manager or a global sales leader or SE leader? Do you have a matrix? Also, as an individual, do you have a matrix to what you're looking for in a hiring company, hiring SE, hiring managers, whatever? Keep in mind that a hiring manager can be great, and then you get the job, and then they change hiring managers on you. So, quick tip, I guess, by the end of the show. So that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's a topic that you want me to cover, or if there's someone I should be interviewing that I haven't yet. And I'm happy to interview almost anybody, really. So that's it for me. I will see you next time. With that, I will be signing off.